Here are the top 10 lesser-known facts about Jesus that you probably never heard before. Number 10. The name Jesus was not originally a Hebrew name. It was actually a common name in the ancient world, just like John or James. In fact, there was even a popular Roman emperor named Titus Flavius Josephus, who was also called Jesus. Number 9. Jesus probably had siblings. The Bible tells us that Jesus had 4 brothers: James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. And many people don't realize that 2 of those names were actually common names in the ancient world, just like the name John. So it's very possible that Jesus had many half-siblings from his father, Joseph, from a previous marriage. No. 8. Jesus was likely a carpenter by trade. There is a popular misconception that Mary and Joseph were poor and lived in a hut, but the Gospels tell us that Joseph was a respected member of the community and a worker in the building industry. So it's more likely that they lived in a middle-class home and that Jesus learned the carpentry trade from his father. Number 7. Jesus probably had a wife. The Bible tells us that Jesus had many close friends, but nowhere does it say that he was celibate. In fact, there are many verses that indicate that Jesus had a wife. For example, Matthew 22:24 says, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female? And said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." So it's clear that Jesus believed in marriage, and since he was a Jew, it's very likely that he was married according to Jewish law. No. 6. Jesus probably had children. There are many people who believe that Jesus did not have any children, but the Bible clearly states that he had at least one son named Jesus. And we know from history that the Jews commonly had large families. In fact, the average number of children in a Jewish family during the time of Jesus was around 6. So it's very likely that Jesus also had 6 or more children. No. 5. Jesus was arrested twice. Most people don't realize this, but Jesus was arrested and crucified during the Jewish Passover week. But during the feast, there were actually 2 separate Passovers. One was the first day of unleavened bread, which was a religious Passover, and the other was the actual Passover where Jesus was crucified. No. 4. Jesus may have been executed by a knife, although the chief priests and religious leaders handed Jesus over to the Romans. It was actually Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, who was responsible for Jesus' crucifixion. In fact, the Gospels tell us that many of the people who attended Jesus' trial and crucifixion were Roman. No. 3. Jesus probably ate meat. Although some people believe that Jesus was a vegetarian, there are many biblical verses that indicate he ate meat. For example, in Matthew 23:34, we read, "I send you prophets, wise men and scribes, and some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them you will scourge in your synagogues." The word scourge here means to whip or flog, and it was a common punishment in the ancient world. So it's very likely that Jesus and his disciples ate meat. Number 2, Jesus may have had red hair. This may come as a surprise to many people, but the Gospels tell us that Jesus' hair was the color of red henna. Now, henna is a natural dye that is often used to color hair and skin, and it was very popular in the ancient world. So it's very likely that Jesus had naturally red hair. And no one! Jesus may have been 6 feet tall. This may sound unbelievable, but the Gospels tell us that Jesus was a giant among men. In fact, the word used to describe Jesus' height was the same word that was used to describe the Nephilim. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my channel.